Down some costs of how much money we think each patient would bring in, and this is only including top surgery. This isn't including any bottom surgery, and it's a lot of money. These surgeries make a lot of money. So female to male chest reconstruction can bring in $40,000.
Hi everybody, Auntie Speaks here. Yeah, you heard that right. All those little chitlins, all those little kids, they're worth a lot of money in those trans surgeries. Yes, Matt Walsh is exposing the medical industry for taking little kids and making a bunch of money off trans surgery. Let's see what Matt Walsh found.
Starting in January 1st of 2017, according to the Affordable Care Act, insurance carriers are mandated to cover medical expenses for trans folks.
I just wanted to highlight that. So, the Affordable quote-unquote Care Act requires insurance companies to cover transgender surgeries. And you wondered why your insurance was so expensive now. Just wanted to jump in and mention that.
Put down some costs of how much money we think each patient would bring in, and this is only including top surgery. This isn't including any bottom surgery, and it's a lot of money. These surgeries make a lot of money. So female to male chest reconstruction can bring in $40,000. A patient just on routine hormone treatment, who I'm only seeing a few times a year, can bring in several $1,000s. That requires a lot of visits and labs. It actually makes money for the hospital. Now these I got from the internet, but it's from the Philadelphia Center for Transgender Surgery, which does a lot of surgery for patients. And I just wanted to give you an idea of how much these bottom surgeries are making. And I think this has to be an underestimate. This is for a vaginoplasty. They're quoting roughly around $20,000 for a vaginoplasty, but that doesn't include your hospital stay. That doesn't include your post-op visits. That doesn't include your anesthesia, your OR. So I would think that this has to be a gross underestimate. I think that's just like the surgeon's piece of it, which anybody who's ever been in the hospital knows that that's like 10% of it. And then the female to male bottom surgeries, these are huge money makers. Again, I think this has to be an underestimate, that they're quoting around $20,000 for a phalloplasty. There's been different things that I've read that said it could be up to $100,000.
Okay, so I am not naive. Hospitals do this for everything. A hospital is just like anything else. It is a capitalist system and it wants to make money. All you communists out there are going to go, see, it just want to make money. But if we had socialist healthcare, then everything would be fine. Yeah, go to Canada. Go to Britain and see how likely you are going to be to survive cancer. Yeah, okay. So, a hospital is a capitalist system. They are there to make money. But this is rather disgusting. Before the transgender craze, a transgender individual was like a half a percentage of a percentage of a percentage, like 0.001 or something like that of the population. They were rare. They were out there. You shouldn't be mean to them. You should be kind to them, but they are there. To see this pitched to a hospital, and that's what Matt Walsh talks about it. So I'm going to link that below. So please go look at his whole clip. They were trying to sell it to the hospital of why they needed a special transgender clinic.
Dr. Winokur, who's our surgeon, says that there's entire clinics where the entire clinic is supported just by their phalloplasties, and that is like a fraction of the surgeries that they're doing. Okay,
do you see? The gender affirming clinic is like paying for everything. That's really scary. Why? Why is it scary? Once again, I do not care if you are an adult. You want to do something to yourself, I don't care. But this is not being targeted at adults. I'll show you a little bit of that later. And even for the adults, if they were as upfront as the dangers involved and what the surgeries can actually do, let's look at some detransitioner stories. Yeah, here you go. Yeah, look at Google. you will be heartbroken when you hear some of these stories. So no, I don't think the doctors are upfront of dangers. I don't think they're upfront with fertility issues, never being able to have kids again. I don't think they're upfront at all.
We can provide gender affirming hormones on an individual who is on a pubertal blocker, depending on whatever kind of blocker they've chosen or we have discussed with them, or they can present to us at a later stage of puberty, and then we provide the gender affirming hormones. Previously, the Endocrine Society recommended to start these at age 16, but we all know that would be delayed puberty, right? Not 16-year-olds don't start puberty. So more recently, they did update that to say as early as 14 for compelling reasons. So we have some individuals who have started gender affirming hormones at 13 or 14 to be more like their peers. Again, fertility preservation and consent are very important to discuss prior to any initiation of these.
So once again, this is my problem. We are not talking about adults here. We are talking about children. Why else would you be stopping puberty? Adults don't go through puberty. So I want you to ask yourself, do you have a 12-year-old niece? You know, a 13-year-old? Do they know their mind? Do they know what's going on in the world? Do they have any clue of what consequences mean? Why do they get in trouble for doing the dumbest things? Why? Because they do not have the mental capacity to think things through. And I don't care what these people say. We have mountains of evidence saying that puberty blockers are not good for children. And we have no long-term studies. None. Not a one. And as I mentioned in another video, so do you want your little munchkin to be tested? Let's test. Do you want to be a part of the test subject for your 11-year-old little girl? Let's test. Let's see how it's going to go.
So when we talk about the WPATH guidelines, so in order for our patients to really successfully undergo these surgeries, we do, again, follow these guidelines. So a lot of times it's for insurance purposes, but again, insurances kind of follow suit with the WPATH guidelines for the most part. So for any kind of top surgery, we do require one letter of persistent, well-documented gender dysphoria by a licensed mental health provider.
For top surgery, you just need a letter that says that your gender dysphoria is persistent. To cut off your breasts, you just need a letter.
We ensure that the patient is capable of making fully informed decisions on their own. They're the age of majority. However, for a lot of our younger patients, again, if they are 16, 17, here at Vanderbilt, if they have been on testosterone, have a parental consent, we're able to do a lot of the top surgeries for those patients.
So, comment below, especially for my detractors. I love it. I'm getting a lot of people who don't like me commenting down below, and I love it. Tell me why you think this is okay. I'm really trying to understand here. If you cannot get a tattoo before 18, you can't vote, you can't join the military, why is it okay for a doctor to cut off a healthy pair of breasts? Please comment below and tell me why you think that's okay. I mean, have you ever heard of detransitioners? You know, before 10 years ago, nobody ever even heard of detransitioners. I just showed you a Google search where there's video after video after video. Check it out on Reddit. There's an entire subreddit on detransitioners. Let's look. Let's see. It's like 38,000 members. of detransitioners. Now, I'm sure, a portion of those are not detransitioners. They're just listening to the stories. But, not a lot of people are going to join a subreddit to listen to the stories of detransitioners. This is the first time I've ever even gone to Reddit. So don't you think this is a problem? Is this not a problem? I've mentioned this before. Buck Angel, who is so awesome, he is a female to male. He calls himself a transsexual, which I think is a much better term. He had to go through years and years and years before they would allow him to transition. Years of therapy, years of persisting in male persona, years and years and years. I think he started his transition I think he was in his 30s or something like that. And before 10 years ago, that was the norm. Okay. We're going to look at one other thing that's very disturbing at Vanderbilt. Yeah. If you have an objection to, cutting off a, 14-year-old's breast they said 16. So if you have an objection to that, then you probably shouldn't work at Vanderbilt. Yeah.
So yes, Vanderbilt, if someone has a conscious objection to participating in this sort of surgery, it probably has to accommodate you to the extent that you can find another person who can do your job, who doesn't have an objection, other things of that nature. But I just want you to take home that saying that you're not going to do something because of your conscientious, because of your religious beliefs, is not without consequences. And it should not be without consequences. And I just want to put that out there. We are given enormous. If you don't want to do this kind of work, don't work at Vanderbilt.
Jawohl, mein Führer. Yes. If you do not want to walk that person into that bathroom to get that shower, then you just better not work here. Yeah? That too harsh? I don't know. I think it fits rather well. Okay, guys. So comment, subscribe. Please send this out to people. I'm going to try to do some light ones, but there's just so much stuff going on that I want to do some light ones. I want to do some funny ones, and I'm going to try to do that. So I will see you on the next one.